Good day, everyone. It's me, it's Crimson KB. Happy holidays, happy new year, and still happy Christmas, because it's not Epiphany yet. That's right, it's still the Christmas season. And because it is the Christmas season, I'm bringing you something I forgot to do last year, and that is my top 10 games of the year, still this year, 2019. These are the games that just resonated with me, the games that I enjoyed the most, and I just couldn't get enough of these games, and I have nothing but good to say about them. So, disclosure, these are games that I have personally played. Let's not delay and get right to the list. When this game got announced at E3, I nearly leapt out of my skin. Okay, I nearly leapt out of my skin because all we had been told for years was that this remaster just wasn't possible. It couldn't happen. The original source was gone. It was lost to the sands of time. And yet 7 and 9 and 10 and several other numerical Final Fantasies got beautiful remasters. And then this got announced and I proclaimed loudly, ha-ha! They said it couldn't happen, and yet here it is with beautiful new models, wonderful combat, and everything that I remembered and loved about the original Final Fantasy VIII, just with a nice paint job. But either way, my hype was real. It was wonderful to revisit the world of Final Fantasy VIII. It was wonderful to play as the OG Gunbladesman himself, Squall and Zell and Irvin and everybody else in this wonderful cast of characters. The Guardian Forces, Triple Triad, it's all there. It's all absolutely wonderful, and it earns a very much deserved number 10 spot on this list. Shovel Knight saw its initial release all the way back in 2014, and since then, Spectre Knight's story has been released. Plague Knight's story has been released, and all of it has been absolutely wonderful. I love Spectre Knight's tragic story and his Ninja Gaiden style of play. I love Plague Knight's, humorous comedic story, but also his play style of combining different mixtures and bombs to differentiate your arsenal and your attack style. And then it left me wondering, well, how is King Knight going to differentiate himself from his two brethren, including Shovel Knight himself? And then it was announced that his expansion would be called King of Cards, and it showed me the coolest thing that has ever been done to a platforming style game of this nature, and that is they took an old school retro style platforming game and they combined it with a card game, a trading card game, very reminiscent of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, things of that nature, with its own set of rules, its own set of collectability to it, that it made me keep going back to the game just to see what other rare cards I could find. And mind you, it does also have platforming style games. Lord knows King Knight has his own, style of moves and abilities and ways that he gets around that very much differentiates himself from the past games and the past Knights. And I honestly had a grand time with this. It was really a good game. It was really a good expansion. And I had a lot of fun with it. And I think it deserves number 9. Absolutely. Fighting games have been very hit and miss for me this year, including the very much esteemed Mortal Kombat 11. Not so much from a gameplay perspective, just from a microtransaction practice side of things. And just the overall story just really turned me off from the game. But that's okay, because Smash Bros. Ultimate has more than filled my time with replay value and everything else, and really a big improvement to the netcode itself. Not perfect, but definitely an improvement over Smash Bros. 4. The roster is bursting with characters and just likability, from Bowser to Ridley to Link. And of course, the guest characters have just been wonderful, from my main with Piranha Plant, from Joker, who was an absolute shock of a reveal, to the hero from Dragon Quest, to Banjo-Kazooie, who we thought we'd never ever see on a Nintendo platform ever again. The Sans costume, because you gotta just love the Undertale fans. And of course, the most hype-filled of reveals of guest characters, Terry Bogard from SNK, Fatal Fury, King of Fighters. My heart just soared to the heavens seeing Nintendo pay homage and bring in Terry Bogard from Fatal Fury. My fighting game fanaticism has been more than satisfied with Smash Bros. Ultimate. And all I have to say, given it's better online, with its bursting content with spirits, and the vault, and the online, and the multiplayer options, the stage crafting, and everything else that they have thrown into this game, all I have to say is it is going to be very difficult to top this Smash Bros. With the next one. There was quite a bit of controversy surrounding this game's release, and that was the controversy of the national dex not being included in this game. So essentially half the Pokemon that came out in past games were gone from this game. Now, I didn't really care a whole lot about that because I've only completed the Pokédex maybe twice in my history with Pokemon, and that being Red and Blue and Gold and Silver. But when I was playing this game, as far as the national dex was concerned, I barely noticed its absence. And that is because the experience of Pokemon Sword and Shield was that good. It really was that good. I was drawn into this world like I have been drawn into a Pokemon game in a very long time. The Wilds area is one of the best things that has ever happened to this franchise. This set area that you can find all of these Pokemon depending on the time of day, weather conditions, things like that. It's something that needs to stay. It is a staple that needs to stay. Max raids are a feature that I want to see expanded upon because it is an absolute fun addition to the game. Breeding eggs has never been easier. Catching Pokemon that have been uncatchable in the wilds before, like my favorite Pokemon, Hitmonlee. Never been done before, and I never want to see it go away. It is absolutely wonderful. The story is, you know, a typical Pokemon trope of a story that's been done before with your gym journey and end of the world things happening. But either way, I didn't care. I thought it was an absolute, just wonderful experience. I thought it was great. I had a good time. I just want to say that, you know what? It doesn't need a national dex to make a great Pokemon game. And you may disagree with me, and that's okay. But either way, this is one of the best Pokemon experiences that I have had since, quite honestly, Diamond and Pearl. I'm sure this is a game that hasn't popped up on a lot of people's lists, but either way, I love Tetris. I've always loved Tetris, even going back to the original Game Boy when I had my first copy of Tetris on my old gray brick. Tetris is one of those games that has just stuck with me, and it's just such a great, brain burner of a game to just focus in on and relieve stress and whatnot. And I've loved it. I've always loved it. And Lord knows I probably rebought that game on other platforms way too many times. Probably more than most people have rebought Skyrim on those platforms. But Tetris 99 was a version of Tetris that absolutely stunned me, and I still go back to this day because it is a battle royale style game, a genre that I'm not that big of a fan of, and yet somehow they took Tetris and made it into a fun, likable, addictive battle royale game that I thought never could be done before. I never want to see this game go away. I want to see it re-released. I want to see it carry on. I want to see this on every platform going forward because it is that much fun. It is a battle royale game made to standards that I love, with a game that I will never ever grow tired of. I will play this game to the day I die. I will play this franchise to the day I die. Tetris 99 is absolutely wonderful.
It's coming. It's coming back.
Resident Evil, the franchise that not only reintroduced, but redefined and defined what it means to be a horror video game. And not only that, not only has Resident Evil 2 Remake done just that as far as a horror video game is concerned, it has set the bar for how a remake should be done. This is how you do a remake when it comes to video games. This game scared the absolute poop out of me. It scared the poop out of me. It was constantly keeping me on my toes on what's gonna jump out and try to scare and kill me next. The combat is wonderful, and quite frankly, Resident Evil needs to keep this style of gameplay when it comes to their, numerical Resident Evils going forward. And obviously Resident Evil 3 Remake is going to retain this, but I loved this game from beginning to end. Mr. X was terrifying. The zombies, the lickers, everything was terrifying in this game, and it made me feel helpless. It made me feel cornered. It made me just awestruck at how much attention to detail, how much love was given to this game. If you haven't played Resident Evil 2 Remake, you are wasting your time by not playing this game, and you should pick it up now, because even if you're not a Resident Evil fan, this game will make you a fan. Yes, sir. Like this game was never gonna come out. It really just felt like that. Devil May Cry 4 was almost another decade away at this point in the past. And then a reboot happened that nobody asked for. And then it finally happened. E3 rolled around and the announcement of announcements happened. Devil May Cry 5 was finally a reality. And in my heart and in many people's hearts, Capcom was finally forgiven for their, what I like to call their decade of stupid. Devil May Cry 5 more than lived up to its franchise history and its legacy. V and the twist with his character at the end that I won't spoil if you haven't played this game yet was wonderful. His combat style as a mage summoner style player was welcoming in a genre that's known for hack and slash and shooting. And Dante's fighting style was more than memorable, including new weapons and his new devil triggers. Nero was great with his new cyber arm enhancements. It was just a great game. It was so good to see Devil May Cry finally return after all these years, and I cannot wait to see what they do with a possible Devil May Cry 6. Either way, Devil May Cry 5, wonderful, phenomenal, absolutely delightful. From Software, man, I love you. You guys just keep churning out hit after hit after hit. And though this game isn't my number one game, it more than deserved any Game of the Year awards that it received from other platforms, especially overall from the Game Awards. What was so great about Sekiro was that it was such a departure from the other FromSoft games, or Souls games, I guess you could call them. And while I've been involved with their games of that genre for quite a long time, since Demon Souls, you know, I knew about Kingsfield, but was never a fan of Kingsfield. Demon Souls was the one that pulled me in, and Dark Souls solidified it. 2 and 3 and Bloodborne were, oh my god, just out of this world experiences. And then this happened. And then Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice happened. And like I said, it was such a departure from the norm we had seen from their previous games, because it wasn't just, you know, gripping difficulty and mobs that could quickly overwhelm you, and, you know, punishing, you know, encounters that if you weren't paying attention, it was your fault that you lost. It was your fault that you died and had to go back and you know, had to redo your progress, which is an old school type of gameplay mechanic that I absolutely love about these games. But I think the thing that really grabbed me with this game was the fact that it reminded me so much of what I consider to be the trite and true ninja shinobi style game, Tenchu. Especially Tenchu Wrath of Heaven, all the way back on PlayStation 2. In fact, if I read correctly, I believe Sekiro was supposed to originally be a new Tenchu title, but then it just took on another direction and then became the game that happened this year. Which, you know, I've always said I wish they would bring Tenchu back, because I just loved those games so much. Sekiro, in my opinion, is more than worthy of being a successful successor to the Tenchu games, because FromSoft does have the Tenchu franchise rights and whatnot, but it was just so great seeing a real shinobi experience with a game nowadays, because we really haven't gotten one, because even Ninja Gaiden is not a trite and true ninja experience, but this was, from its stealth mechanics, to its combat, to its punishing difficulty, to the tools that you had at your utilization, from shuriken to a grappling wire, to all kinds of other things you could craft to make yourself even more of a lethal killer. This game's environment, the soundtrack, the voiceovers, everything was just phenomenal about this game. I am interested to see if a Sekiro 2 happens, but who knows? This might be a one and done. It might be the start of a whole new franchise. But either way, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is a welcomed new path in the From Software lineup of games, and I cannot wait to see where they take it from here, whether things get applied from this game to the upcoming Elden Ring, to potentially a new Dark Souls game, or even Bloodborne 2. Who knows? But either way, Sekiro was unforgettable. It was incredible. I enjoyed every moment of this game. I'm still working on beating this game because it keeps kicking my butt so much. And I'm okay with that. I love WoW. I always have. I always will. Even the company behind the game, with some of their idiotic decisions, they'll never deter me from loving this franchise. Ever. So why is it on my top 10? Because WoW Classic delivered. WoW Classic delivered on every aspect that was promised. It brought the game back to where, in my opinion, it never should have moved away from. From its community, to its difficult exploration, to its mad kicking mobs, to its RPG elements that have been sorely missed, to valuable gear that you had to spend hours searching for to make your character better and better. A leveling experience that was the experience and was the journey. All of that. Unforgettable dungeons, unforgettable raids, unforgettable moments in PvP. The moment when you would get your first mount, when you finally made more than 1 gold, when you finally got to see things like Stormwind or Orgrimmar or Undercity, all of that. To the danger of the Plague Lands, to the intimidating sight of Anderhall, to being in the Barrens for hours and seeing all of the trash talk in the chat. All of it. To even getting ganked by your first enemy rogue. All of it. WoW Classic is an unforgettable, immortal experience that, in my opinion, Blizzard delivered on. They delivered on this game. And it outshines its retail version by leaps and bounds. By leaps and bounds. Its soul is restored once again. WoW Classic is World of Warcraft, and it always shall be. Even if they release a Burning Crusade Classic, it is wonderful to know. It is wonderful to know that Blizzard actually listened to the fans for once, from all the push, from all of the big WoW names, from Nixiom to Asmongold to Swifty to all of these people that made this push, Mark Kern, everybody that made this push in the WoW community, including the WoW fans themselves, the players, everybody. WoW Classic happened because of the fans and because of the community. And it was wonderful, and I have to say thank you to Blizzard for listening, because WoW Classic is just unforgettable. It is going to be very difficult to really describe the array of emotion that this game brought upon me when it released this past summer. There's a reason that the fans, sometimes jokingly, sometimes seriously, refer to this game as the feels bringer, but there's a reason for that. Never before in my life with an MMO game have I been hit with such an array of emotion, with such an array of shock, of sadness, of joy, of awe. Shadowbringers brought all of that, and it was only the first patch. The first patch alone gave a full-priced retail story-based game experience. And like I said, that was just the first patch. From the very beginning, when we traveled to the first, from the first time that you see a horrific transformation of a citizen into a sin eater, from your first dungeon to the first time you hear that gripping boss music, to the first time that you meet Ranjit, to the first time that you run into Valkyrie, to finally reuniting with your friends in this game. to doing the PvP, to doing the raids, from doing the trials, from never getting Titania's song out of your head, to finally encountering Emmett Selk at the very end of it all, and the twists and turns and everything else that this game brought. It's indescribable. It is indescribable and can only, in my opinion, really, I know a lot of people say you have to experience for yourself the experience that I'm describing. But I'm being serious when I say this, that the best way to describe it is to experience it. You have here a great dungeon system. You have one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a game, period. You have a fantastic multiplayer community. You have a crafting system that is no longer intimidating and is welcoming to anyone and actually has legit value to it. You have a multi-tiered rating system, from trials to extremes to the newly included ultimate with Alexander. You have a PvP system that, in my opinion, in the past had its flaws, but in my opinion is getting better. You have the inclusion of 2 new classes with the Dancer and the Gunbreaker that are just so much fun. Tanking is fun with the Gunbreaker. You have new abilities and balancing brought to the previous jobs that needed to happen, and some pruning that needed to happen that just made the game flow a lot better and not making your hotbars feel so congested. You have a story. You have a story that lives up to prior numerical Final Fantasy stories in emotion, in depth, in pacing, and everything else that makes a story wonderful. And you have a legit, morally gray antagonist in Emmett Selk but you understand why he's doing the things and the terrible things that he is doing. And they are terrible things that he is doing and is intending to do. And I won't spoil them. I won't spoil them because it will make your jaw hit the floor. The depths that he goes to see his goal achieved. And it makes you question who is the real hero in this story. And as I've said before with story and before in video games, it's all about perspective. It is a story direction that I wish Battle for Azeroth had gone. It is a morally gray character that I wish Sylvanas had really been. It is a battle system that, in my opinion, MMOs could learn from going forward. It is a community, style that I think MMOs could learn from. Its music is just soul gripping. Its graphics are unbelievable. And coming, next year, it's going to be on Xbox One. So the community is only going to get bigger. New things are added almost every month. It has been given constant attention by its wonderful developers and team led by Yoshi P. And in my opinion, it's the top MMO. It is the top MMO right now. I know WoW fans might throw tomatoes at me for this one, but in my opinion, it's true. Because all these years that I played other MMOs, none of them gripped me like this. None of them hit me like this. None of them touched me to the soul like this. None of them did. And that's why Final Fantasy XIV is my #1 game of 2019. It is worth every minute that you give it. So those are my top 10 games of 2019. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your top 10 games of 2019? Let me know in the comments below. Because, hey, whether we agree or disagree, or whether we have different likes or dislikes, video games are all about the fun, right? And these games were just positively, at the end of the day, the most fun that I've had in 2019. So I will see you next time. Thank you for watching today. Hit the like button if you like what you saw. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitch for live stream and the links below. Of course, if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified of new videos. Because before the decade ends, you will see my top game of the decade. I'll see you next time. You have a wonderful shui day, baby. Thanks for coming.